Hello, this is Mr. Matt.
Dozier.
Pleasure to meet you.
Outstanding. Thank you.
How did East begin?
East began in a single classroom in north central Arkansas in the mid-90s, and it began almost by accident. A very, very gifted teacher who was what we call a second career educator. He'd spent 20 years being a policeman of one kind or another, decided he'd rather teach school than be a policeman. And he thought he was going to go get to teach school and inspire others. And they gave him exactly the kind of kids you give a 20-year veteran of law enforcement. All the knuckleheads and troublemakers. But secretly, he was very excited. You want to know why?
Why?
Because sometimes those are the most inventive, and sometimes those are the most engaging students if you can find the things to engage them. And so he got them busy doing things. And because people had such little expectations, because they got in trouble all the time, because they had such little expectations, the things that they were doing got a lot of attention. And it didn't take too long before other people wanted to get into the class. And for us, we trace it back to the president of the school board of that school. His daughter signed up, and she was told she couldn't get in because she was a straight A honor student. And when he went and fussed at Mr. Stevenson, our founder, Mr. Stevenson said, "I'm sorry, she's just not in enough trouble." And he said, and this is funny, "That's not fair." So I just want you to think for a minute. It's not fair because you would get good grades and have a good situation and all of that you're not allowed this great opportunity. And that opened the door for everybody to come in.
Okay. What are the kinds of things that the policeman, the officer would make the students do?
The very first East project was to build a little bitty bridge over a drainage ditch, because the students that he was working with sometimes didn't always go to class, and there was a specific place in the woods behind the school that they could hang out. And if you came back and it was wet and you went through the drainage ditch, you would track in mud. And so rather than just lecture them about not skipping class, he said, "Why don't we fix the mud?" And you want to know what happened?
What happened?
They started going to class. Because school was something that meant something. They were doing something that they saw of value. And now they're going to class and they're asking questions in math class because it's harder than it looks to build a curved bridge. And they're working, and they're working hard, because it's you cutting things and nailing things and having to unnail things. And all of a sudden people were wondering, what the heck is he doing out there? Because those kids are not the kids that come to class.
What made you want to join East?
Me? Well, that's a great question. When I used to be a speech and English teacher. I did that for almost 10 years. And one day my assistant principal came and handed me 2 sheets of paper and asked me if I wanted to, the Monday after the weekend, if I wanted to go with a small group up to a school and see this thing. And I thought, a day that you're going to pay me to have a substitute and go somewhere and maybe eat lunch somewhere else? That sounds great. And I went and I looked at it, and we visited that classroom, and I met Mr. Stevenson, and I met some of his students. And when we came back, we talked about whether or not that was something my school wanted to do, and we were all pretty much in consensus that that was a good idea. My principal asked me if I wanted to teach that class, and I said no. And he said, "Why?" I said, "I don't know anything at all about computers." And he said, "Well, I don't think you're supposed to. Why don't you go ahead and do it?" And I said, "Yes, sir," because he was a very, very good principal. Principals can be good people.
Yeah.
He was a very, very good principal. And if he trusted me, I trusted me. And we had such an amazing run. Those kids, my kids, they did such incredible and powerful things, and they went on to go and do other things. And I saw how it made them, what they were doing in East made them want to do more and be better. And when you become a part of something like that, you want other people to be a part of it. And at that time, there were so few of us. Everybody that wanted to be in was needed. And I kind of just, this all happened. Never planned, never anything. It just kind of happened.
What were your thoughts when the principal asked you to if you could teach the class?
I was terrified. Because like I said, I didn't know anything about computers. I'd been on the internet twice in my life. I didn't have an email address. And I could honestly see myself not being able to be successful, not knowing what I was doing, that the program might not work. And just like anybody else, I could handle English. I'd read all the books. It's one of the tricks of the trade is when you're teaching it, you've read all those books. They haven't, so you can just razzle-dazzle them. And I've never had a problem talking to people, so that was easy. This computer stuff scared me. So, but sometimes you got to do things that you're uncomfortable with to find out what you can do, right?
Yes.
Okay.
How did you start off? Did you start off good or did you start off like rough?
We started off amazing, but it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I had this small group of students, because I only had like 12 days to recruit them, but I had this small group of students, and I was able to show them just enough of what I thought we could do. And then I said, what do you think we can do? And the next thing I knew, they had 30 different projects on the board, and I'm saying, okay, who wants to do this and who wants to do that? And I realized that, hey, if I stand over there and make sure that they can do the things that they need to do, this is all going to work. And it did.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, we've seen that story play out 200-300 times in schools all across America, with students from second grade through college, with students who are adults. Do you know who the oldest East student right now?
No, I have
Guess.
no idea. I think it's probably going to be 25.
25. You're halfway there. 53 years
53
old.
years.
There is a charter school in Little Rock that is for adults that want to get their high school diplomas, not their GEDs. And we have an East program there. And the oldest East student that we know of is 53 years old.
53 years old. Wow.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
If we're able to get an East program here, do you think that they will do great and amazing and powerful things?
Yes, I mean, like, I honestly think that the kids in here have amazing minds, and I think that their thoughts can help the community.
I think you're probably right.
Thank you
They
for
can edit
spending your time with us, and thank you for giving us this interview.
Thank you for spending time with us. This is the first one of these we've done like this, and I would much rather hang out with you than them, but don't tell them, okay? Thank you very much.